me what's happening in the UK right now with tens of thousands of teachers in the streets. Did you see what was happening in London?
You have it pulled up.
Yeah,
what is that?
You
have what? I mean, is that an article that you were going to?
It is.
Okay.
If it's all right with you, Mark, we'll pull up the article and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, we're
That's
talking
cool.
education. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Which one do you have?
So we have British workers unite in largest strike in a generation, which I think is very relevant. And this, of course, is not going to get mainstream attention because it doesn't go with the narrative. The narrative is to say we're divided on these culture war lines. And so here we go with hundreds of thousands, of teachers are among those who walked off their jobs to demand wages that keep pace with inflation.
How dare they?
How dare they inconvenience us?
No, and how dare they want their wages to keep up with inflation?
Shouldn't they just be grateful that they get to work, 20 hours a week,
taking
babysitting
care of other
kids?
people's children?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, easy job.
Up to half of, I always say the two most underappreciated professions, teachers and nurses.
And I've said there is actually, even if let's say teachers made what they were really deserving to make, let me just say this, there is no amount of money, you could even double that would make me be a teacher. There's no amount of money. That job, and I'm talking like kids, like the idea of kindergarten, I'd rather get a root canal. I really, I can't even.
The stories that I hear, oh my word. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy teaching. That's really what I do with my show and my mastermind group and all that. But when it comes to little kids,
Serious. Okay, so from the British perspective.
Oh, don't do that.
Shall we iron a few things out?
No, stop
Teachers
talking
aren't
like that.
paid for school holidays. Teachers are paid for working a maximum of 1,265 hours over 195 days, or 6.5 hours per day in term time.
Can you please stop?
My wife is a teacher. She arrives at work at 7:30 every day. She leaves work at 16:30, that's 4:30, at the earliest, often later. That's a minimum of 2.5 hours of unpaid work every day. That excludes marking at home, planning, going into school during the holidays for results days, exam prep, and study days, after school meetings, supporting extracurricular activities, parents' evenings, open days, the list goes on. Teachers are asking that they get a pay raise in line with inflation, but even the 5% they've been offered isn't fully funded. As the government's 5% offer is not fully funded, part of the pay rise has to come from school budgets. That means fewer books, resources, clubs, and staff for your kids. That's not the teacher's choice, that's the government's choice. Let's make that clearer. The government's best offer is one that will make kids' education worse. Teachers and schools aren't the ones charging you for taking your kids out of school to go on holiday. Your local authority does that at the insistence of the government.
So this was by the union, the head of the union?
Yes.
Okay. Because this is, they're going to be in quite a pickle here with this.
Yeah. This is a very serious problem.
Up to 500,000 British teachers, civil servants, train drivers, and university lecturers have walked off their jobs to demand better pay and working conditions in the largest coordinated strike action in a generation as wages fail to keep pace with soaring inflation. About 300,000 people on strike Wednesday are teachers. Okay, so there's a lot of other people too that are walking with them. I mean, this is massive.
I think janitors and others join them in this.
The National Education Union said about 23,000 schools will be affected on Wednesday, with an estimated 85% fully or partially closed.
Now, I believe, and this is my opinion, we don't have to dive even deeper into the article, but Mark, I think you would definitely agree that the main premise here, and the reason why this story is not under any circumstances going to get heavy airplay here in the States is because this will give ideas to the working man and woman who have been completely subjugated by the system and think, well, if the Brits can do it, why the hell can't we do it?
Stay in your place, peon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to impact their entire economy, because if there's no teachers in class, you can't just have the kids. It's not going to be Lord of the Flies in the kindergarten room. That's no good.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know.
It would degenerate very quickly. You leave, 25 4-year-olds in one class. Oh my goodness, no.
Yes, and then maybe people will appreciate Teachers. See, I think that things have to get, like, people don't like things getting uncomfortable, but that's the point of a strike. If it were comfortable, then it wouldn't do anything. Like, that's the like, and we, of course, here you have a situation where
railroad workers.
Well, I mean, even in Florida specifically, you have a situation where we're a right to work state. You have very weak unions that, we have teachers that are so underpaid, and especially in Broward County teachers make less money than Miami-Dade and Palm Beach teachers. And they're getting nowhere here. They have no power. They have nothing. So why would we want to give them ideas?
Yeah, no kidding. And the other thing, and forgive me, I'm not an expert on this. Like, politics are very complicated. There's so many, everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about teachers' unions? Because it's my understanding that teachers' unions take a big chunk out of the paycheck.
I will give you a great example, my friend.
We have some issues.
The biggest issue that we can share, of course, is that labor is the side that we're on, and that's the main reason why you're in the Democratic Party. The biggest reason to be in the Democratic Party, as it should be constructed, it isn't today. It's a party.
Right, how it was, how it's meant to be.
Today, the Democratic Party is the party of Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and the military-industrial complex.
But the labor theory, it's supposed to be.
That's what it's supposed to be. Right. Now, of course, the GOP has seized on that opportunity, even though both parties do not represent labor. So the idea is to have at least one labor party in the United States. That's why there is this growing labor movement that's happening. What I see as the big problem with unions, especially in right-to-work states like what we have, is that it's not the rank and file that's the problem. It's the union bosses and delegates that are the problem. And so when they can arbitrarily make decisions over the heads of the rank and file and against the will of the rank and file.
All the time.
Which happened many times, especially when Jen ran against Wasserman Schultz for Congress. And two people in particular that stood out. The one locally was Dan Reynolds, who's the head of the Broward County AFL-CIO. Not only does he control all of the local unions, from the firefighters to the police to the iron workers to the longshoremen, they all fall under his purview. He has been literally in bed with Wasserman Schultz for
Stop saying that.
Oh, okay, figuratively, I'm sorry. Whatever. Politically in bed with Wasserman Schultz for 25 years. And if that's not enough, he is the second ranking member of the AFL-CIO in the entire state of Florida. He is the managing secretary.
So they wouldn't even give a screening and instead automatically endorsed and had all the rank and file basically not even have an option to hear somebody else. But then they support someone who even at that time, she's like trying to fast track the TPP, right? This is not a pro-labor person.
This is also somebody who's been in bed with payday lenders for decades.
But it's just the point is that union leadership is not necessarily always acting in the best interest of rank and file. Now, that's not always the case. Like we have Double K, who's retired union and like the union. And also I would point out that she lives in Wisconsin.
And then you can take it one step further, which now goes to the national level, which is the teachers union, which could decide outside of the AFL-CIO if they wanted to endorse a candidate separate from the one that is generally the incumbent, which is often what the Democrats always do, which is just endorse the incumbent. But in this case, we couldn't even get a screening in because a lot of teachers like Jen, this went all the way to the top to Randy Weingarten. We had one conversation with her one time and she says, I'm sorry, I'm with Debbie. And that was the end of the conversation. She decided on behalf of all teachers that we support Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that is the end of it. So when people talk about labor unions being a problem, it's not workers that are the problem. It's the bosses that are the problem, who act no different than Fortune 500 company CEOs.
Right. It's just it's like politicians. It's the type. When you get to the top of the food chain and you want to keep the minions below you, you're going to maintain your power structure, and that's how it goes.
And
that's
it's much easier to do it in a right-to-work state.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.